Okay, let's go.
Hello there, Chick Chat. We're back with Gypsy Rose, episode 6. And as you can tell, I'm in a different environment. I'm up in Michigan, so I'm in my parents' basement and I have crap lighting. And I don't like it either, but we're just going to keep it moving.
You look great.
So the episode starts off with seeing Ken get mic'd up, telling us he's never done this before. He's a little bit nervous. They did ask him if Gypsy knows he's doing this, and he said, yeah. And they said, oh, how do you know that? He said, Christy probably told her. How much are you talking to Christy?
Daily.
Oh
I'm
my
telling you, they have daily conversations and Wednesday lunch meetups.
Ugh.
They have to.
Did you catch when he was talking about the beginning of their relationship and he said that he started writing her not looking for a girlfriend? I'm not really a body language expert, but looks to me like you were looking for a girlfriend. It wasn't just like a not looking for a girlfriend. It was like a not looking for.
I did notice he was pretty animated. His hands were kind of going all over the place too. So maybe he's just kind of shaky. But that is an interesting thing. I just don't get why you would write a woman in prison. I mean, I don't know. He could have been curious or whatever, but you have to be at least semi-open romantically to just be spending time writing this woman.
Unless you're writing a book about their life or something like that.
Right. It costs money every single time to communicate with an inmate, whether it's through mail, on the phone, whatever. Even if you show up there for a visit, those are free, but you have to travel there. It costs money to talk to an inmate. There has to be some kind of intent that serves you.
They downplayed a lot. I wasn't looking for a girlfriend, and then there's not really a good reason what he was doing attached to it. Same thing with Ryan. It's giving those Chris Watts girls that write Chris Watts, and they're always like, I'm not in this to try to get with you, and then proceeds to say a bunch of, like, I'd like to read those letters.
I completely agree.
We go over to Gypsy and Ryan, who are still reeling from this fight from the last episode. Apparently, Gypsy had texted Mia the videos, and she was on the balcony at first talking to Mia. Did you get the videos?
I got the vibe that Mia was a little annoyed.
Probably because she's being dragged all into this and stuff. She's probably annoyed with the whole situation. She's probably not happy that he did that, but I think she's also knowing when to say things and when not to say things. I don't get Ryan's whole she's talking S about me because so far we haven't really seen much of that. She probably has normal reservations that she communicates, but it doesn't seem like she's up in here and just talking a bunch of crap or anything. Some of their behaviors are not really great. So I think anybody's sister would be like,
I think what Mia's doing has always been reasonable, at least what we've seen on camera. She's not just talking shit about him for no reason. It seems like she just has a lot of reasonable suspicion. And I think it's valid too, from what we see.
I have seen a TikTok of her recently say she didn't really like Ryan, but now they're broken up and stuff. I mean, I don't think that was really a secret. I think while Gypsy was in her marriage, Mia was more respectful towards, I guess, just letting Gypsy at least go through it first and not pushing this guy is kind of a lot. Maybe you rushed into things, gotta let him go through it.
Yeah.
So Gypsy comes back in and tells Ryan that she told Mia, could tell putting on this crazy front for the camera. How would you do that, babe? Was it not even a big fight? Not every fight is a big fight. This is where I start seeing Gypsy mentally detached from Ryan, I think, is around this fight and after. She's barely hanging on there mentally. This is the shutdown. You could tell her interest is just gone.
She just doesn't want to argue with him anymore because she doesn't care anymore. She's starting to feel a little bit controlled, I think, and over it. I don't blame her. I feel like he's also sort of normalizing. I get that their argument it didn't look that bad, at least what we saw on camera, but we have no idea what happened to make her want to record. So I don't know. But at least what we saw, it looked like they were disagreeing. They were yelling. That's not unheard of. People do that. But I just don't like the idea where he tries to normalize not talking to people about these things. If I have a small disagreement with my fiance, I might call you about it. I might not call you about it. It just depends. But I'm not going to have some other person determining what I'm allowed to share. That's not cool.
No. Especially when it's like family and stuff. And he did slip up a bunch of times. He said, I don't want you telling your sister that it wasn't just about the world. I can understand where it's about the cameras being there. And Gypsy was lame, being like, I didn't even realize the cameras were there. It's like, girl, There's GoPros probably all around you.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. Let's stop. I know you knew that there were cameras there, but
Strapped to the car, just like you have a mic somewhere probably digging into your back. Just stop it.
yeah, we knew that the cameras were there. But you are also entitled to share your experiences, whether you want to share it with the world or not. I mean, if he didn't want it
Mhm.
shared, he shouldn't act a certain way. I don't know. The fight got sent to Mia, and you can tell Ryan's on edge about it. They go on this date. They had fun jumping around and stuff, but he's all jump, baby, jump, baby. He's very strange about her and her appearance all the time. Like, I know that I love my husband compliments me all the time, but it's just a little bit like creepy, like a creepy way, especially when it came to her hair later.
I get that too. There are times where he compliments her and I'm like, "Oh, that's nice." Like, that would be nice to
Mhm.
hear, but the majority of the time, I don't get that sentiment either. I feel like it's gives me the ick too. I don't know what it is
Yeah.
because he's capable of giving compliments that I think would be nice to hear, but most of the
Mhm.
time they're I don't know about the way if it's the way he says it or his tone, but I get it. It is weird.
Yeah, I can't pinpoint it if it's his delivery or what, but when he talks about her hair later and he's just like,
He was
"Looks
all
so
up in it.
good blonde." He was going a little bit overboard, and I don't know if it's because he know Ken likes blondes and that he's trying to make sure she knows he also might like blondes. I don't know, he was a little extra about her having her little makeover and
It was giving the first night out vibes. "Come over here, let me touch you."
yeah, it was so strange.
French fry.
I'm gonna put 'em in the microwave. Anyway, so they're actually at dinner after they're jumping around, and they start talking about Ryan's it seems as if putting on an act for the camera, and then behind the camera, he's saying snarky comments about her family. He says, "It seems like when anybody has an issue with our relationship, they're not in your favor anymore." And he said, "Well, that's not true. I love Christy. I love me. I like me. I nothing against him." She says, "Well, in the car, you said Christy likes the attention." And I know he said that. I think.
He absolutely said that.
In the car. She's like, "Well, I'm just joking. I can't stand when people do that. Like, you're upset about something. There's something going on between you guys. It's not a thing to joke about,
Yeah,
even,
and I'm so glad she called him out in that way. And she called him out, yes, but she also said, "This is something I have done and used to do." So it's not like you're doing anything terribly bad. But she called it an excuse, a cop out, and that's exactly what it is. You say what's on your
Mhm,
mind, and then it's not well received, and you're like, "Oh, well, I was just kidding." And a lot of people do that. Stand on what you have to say. Whatever
mhm.
happens after that happens, but everybody knows that you're not joking. So let's just be real.
Said in confessional, "I'm upset with Christy. She shouldn't have
Yeah,
done that." You have a reason to be upset with her, of course.
yeah,
But you
yeah.
also can't be going around making these snarky comments because it's not gonna help your marriage either. I mean, this is still your wife's family. It's really muddy waters to be going back and forth with them.
Yeah, and I'm glad Gypsy was holding him accountable in this conversation. She wasn't just kind of taking, "Well, I love them," for an answer. She was really holding him to what he said and trying to figure out how he really feels. And you could tell he's getting pretty anxious and frustrated. By the time the meal came up, I just remember the look he gave the waitress when his food came. He looked terrified. Like
"I
it
don't
was
need
rough.
this burger anymore."
He's like, "I'm losing all control."
Then he promises her that he's gonna stop, and she
Mhm.
says, "I don't need a promise, I need to see you do it." We've seen him make these comments, randomly, "Don't let me talk shit about me." We'll see him say some weird stuff later. He's constantly making these weird remarks, and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding." But this is a point of contention with you, it's nothing to joke about regardless.
Right, just say how you feel and then we can figure that part out. But I don't know if it was before this scene or after this scene, but there's that brief scene with Rod and Christy about Rod
Mhm.
missing Gypsy and wishing that he can have a little moment with her because Mia's had her moment. It seems like Christy's with her pretty often.
Mhm.
Ryan's with her all the time because his time is everybody's time. So
All
and it's
right.
interesting, it seems like everyone has to get permission to be with her, and I think that a lot of that has to do with Ryan's time.
He also works 8 hours of the day, so I don't know why somebody can go pick her. I don't know how far they live from each other, but I don't see why there can't be more arrangements made where she could go spend a day
Yeah.
or 2 during the week when he's got weekends, it just feels strange.
She could even go spend the week if he's working all week, she could go up there on a Monday and come back on a Thursday, Friday, and still spend the whole weekend with Ryan for his time.
But we don't really see too much of that. Before all this Christy stuff happened, I think he already had a little bit of an issue with control and her time and all that, because we were seeing him say that before Ken came up all the time. Although Ken did come up on day 2. But I think this Ken stuff just has him on overdrive, not letting her out of his sight. He's terrified she's going to go talk to him. As we saw last episode with him looking over her shoulder. This man,
he's got a lot of insecurity brewing and bubbling all over the place. All over Gypsy, all over his time, all over Rod's time. We see in the preview for the next episode that he has something to say about Rod's time. I just want to love on my wife. I don't care about your dad's time. Like, that's basically what he texted her. I have a couple theories, like maybe they were staying at night or something, and then he kind of sent a message like, I could care less about you being with your mom. I just want to be with you. That's the only way that it'd be appropriate. Otherwise, if she just woke up to that message, I think that is crazy.
horrible.
We'll get there. So yeah, Rod is talking to Christy. He wants to spend more time with Gypsy. And Christy at first encourages him to talk about that with Gypsy, but he says that he feels, I think he said, selfish about trying to ask for that. And I could understand that, but at the same time, I think Gypsy wants to be invited and taken in by her dad instead of the one having to approach her dad. She doesn't really know a healthy parent relationship, so I think,
or any relationship, probably, really.
that's very true. I think Rod should be the one to talk to Gypsy about it, but we'll see what happens later.
Well, Christy made some good points when she was talking to Rod. Like, you've been
Yeah.
Rod. I liked their conversation about him telling Gypsy how he feels, because I think it is important that he does that later when she tells Gypsy, which we'll just get into that, because she does go and have a visit with Gypsy, and she decides to tell Gypsy everything that her dad said. And I think that she was more in the right to talk to her about this than the whole Ken situation. If she's going to be talking about one, I think she should have left it more open-ended for the dad to say how he felt. When we were talking, you said, like, give them a
opportunity.
Yeah, like, just to maybe create the space. Hey, why don't you come up for the weekend, and then you send them off on the boat together, like, we'll see them do later. She said everything that he said, and I think sometimes she gives her too much information, and that did upset Gypsy that it wasn't coming from her dad. If Christy's the only one always being honest with her, too, Christy's the only one she's ever going to really truly believe all the time. People also need to be having these conversations with her other than Christy.
And it starts to become, I think, unintentionally manipulative, because then Gypsy's only hearing everyone else's perspective filtered through Christy. It's kind of same thing with Dee Dee, to be honest. Dee Dee was the only information pool to Gypsy, and everyone else talked to Dee Dee. And right now, that is exactly what's happening. Everyone else talks to Christy, and Christy talks to Gypsy. I don't think Christy is intentionally doing that. I think she's actually trying not to do what Dee Dee did, but she's definitely filtering a lot of the information just because she's not holding space for people to have opportunities to have conversations. I think she could have supported her husband well in doing that, and then also went and talked to Gypsy and said something like, have you thought about spending some time with your dad? You could come up, you guys can go on the boat, me and Mia will go get our nails done for the day, and you guys can spend some time together. That's really all that needed to be said. And then Gypsy's dad could have told her whatever he wanted to say, but I feel like it was already awkward by the time they actually got together, because she already heard what he had to say through Christy.
He's stuck in this space of, I don't want to be controlling and I don't want to be like her mother, but she's in a space of, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So somebody did need to help them come together, because they both weren't going to budge. I'm sure it was hurting Rod. And just like Christy said, they've been waiting for Gypsy, she said, for 8 years or so. Ryan's been waiting for 2. I mean, honestly, truly, if you think about it, they've been waiting longer. I know he hasn't made good choices for dad, but all the way around, he was really young when he had her, and that's no excuse to not be around. But I'm sure there's other circumstances to it. It's not all his fault. He was robbed of, in a way, is that relationship, because he has it with Mia. I feel like if he could have had it with Gypsy, he also would have done the same thing, or maybe he overcompensated for that with Mia. I don't know, but it does seem like they're both in this space of, they don't want to say or do the wrong thing, and it's making it hard for them to even be open and have a real relationship, because they're so afraid. They're walking on eggshells with each other.
Rod, to me, he looks like a great dad to Mia, so I feel like he's capable of being a good dad. Part of me thinks maybe some of the disconnection in childhood, he said he was young. Gypsy was his first child. He didn't really know what he was doing. He wasn't together with Dee Dee. And even according to Dee Dee's family, people didn't like her. She was weird according to them, all kinds of things. So if you have a child with somebody who is weird according to their family, has all these things going on, and then imagine how manipulative she is because of mental illness that she had. I'm sorry, but I would stay away too. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I could see why he would stay away from
Right.
that situation. It's
Well,
just
yeah,
a lot.
because sometimes if you say too much or you do too much, they'll cut you off and then you'll never hear from him. Maybe he was just hoping to hear
Well,
from him
apparently when he
sometime.
shared Special Olympics stuff, Dee Dee would formulate this whole narrative about how he was calling her names and all kinds of stuff
Mhm.
when he was there, and I don't know if she actually believed that herself or if she was just trying to fill Gypsy's head with lies, but either way, even when
Right.
he shows up, he gets this narrative thrown from Gypsy, so it's like, why come around if you're just gonna fill her head with lies about me?
We don't have Dee Dee's side of it. We do have to take that into account as well. Maybe she never even said that stuff. Who knows? But that's the thing. We don't have her to ask, and so we gotta basically kind of go off of Gypsy's word. And I know a lot of people don't trust Gypsy's word, but
A lot of people don't.
no.
But, I mean, it is factual at this point what happened to Gypsy, and Edie had Munchausen by proxy and medical records and her looking at her teeth, looking at her stomach tube, all these things where she's looks like a healthy functioning person. She was in prison for years, which let's be honest, we talked about the lack of feminine medical care in there in a previous episode, but
Mhm.
all medical care in general is horrible in a prison and she seems healthy. So she cannot be that ill. If she just made it through prison,
Right.
minimal issues, especially knowing she has a history of all this stuff. I mean, she probably has an incision in her belly and all the stuff in her teeth and having to take them out
Mhm.
every day in a dirty prison, could get an infection. She's a healthy person.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And she could walk the whole time and everything. She could walk in the prison.
Walking in prison.
Prison
Talking.
healed her.
Prison did kind of heal her, which is sad because it's not a healing place.
I guess for some people it can be and I have to be. So her dad and her have this cute little day on the boat. I thought that was really cute, them driving around. He let her drive for a little bit. It was a little bit awkward at times, but they really haven't spent one-on-one time together. Rod was probably really excited to actually get a weekend with her,
Mhm.
but Ryan was upset that he didn't get an invite. I knew that was going to be a problem.
And this is exactly what the family storyline has been building up this whole episode, that Rod wants to hang out, they facilitated that happening, and now Gypsy's gonna go over there, and the point of that is for Rod to have time with Gypsy, not Ron's time with Gypsy.
Time with Jib Jib.
This pressure around where she spends her time, you can see it showing up more and more throughout the episode. The other storyline in this episode is Gypsy's makeover. She's gonna go get her teeth done and her hair done and all of that. And Ryan, at one point in the episode, asks, "Is there any other medical or changes that I should be aware of? You're gonna get your teeth done. You're gonna get your nose
No.
done. Is there anything else? Oh, I want to get my hair changed and make it blonder." It's just like control of the time, the control of what she's doing to her own body, the control of who she's talking to on her own cell phone with her own time. It really is starting to build up to look like this is not healthy.
Well, he's overcompensating, over complimenting her and stuff because in his mind, he's thinking she's doing all this to be with someone else. He said I don't know if it was a voiceover or whatever, that he's worried all these changes are going to make her think differently about a lot of things. I'm guessing that means leave him and find Ken.
It's exactly what it means, and I think that's just tell me you're being manipulative without telling me you're being manipulative. That's just insane to me. You're telling
Mhm.
me right now that you know that your wife has worried about her nose forever, has messed up teeth in her words, and let's be honest, she does. All of this stuff, you're telling me how this negatively affects your wife and her view of herself, but you would rather her do nothing about it so that she can feel good enough or equal to you. That
Yeah.
is disgusting, sir,
Mhm.
completely disgusting. Deal with your own self-conscious issues. Those are your issues.
Yep. And if you
So
think that
weird.
one makeover is gonna make her leave you, then your marriage ain't that solid, and it's probably a good thing
Exactly.
that she
Yeah,
leaves. Like,
craziness. Stay looking the way you are so that you stay me. No. If Gypsy loves you, she will love you regardless of what her nose or teeth or face or anything looks like. So it's just so unhealthy and disgusting to watch him try to logic his way around. Oh, well, she just might not love me anymore. That's not the case.
the
She's
thing
not going to
is
love you anymore because of all this other stuff
oh,
you're
yeah.
doing.
She might have even stayed with him, I think, if he wasn't so obsessed with Ken himself. Even when he's talking to her about when she comes back and she has her hair all blonde, he's like, "Was I the first to see it?" Obviously, the hairdresser's the first to see it. And he was all
Obviously.
worried about being the first to see it. And she's like, "I sent a picture to, Christy and Mia and stuff." And he's like, "And your boyfriend, did he like it?" Another one of those jokes I'm not a fan of because you're already accusing her of talking to Ken all the time. You're already worried about that. And I'm just kidding. But
Mhm.
it makes her
And
shut
it's
down.
like she just had this conversation again earlier in this episode about, "Let's not say I'm joking if you're not joking," and he was not joking. He wanted to know if she sent a picture to Ken, and then he answered for her. He's like, "Oh, did you send it to your boyfriend, or does your boyfriend like it or something?"
Hmm.
Quiet, because yeah, like you said, she shut down, and then he's like, "Oh, he did? Okay. Pixie, did you like it?" That is so weird. It's manipulative, it's not healthy. Anyone whose partner is talking to them like that, it's a red flag. It's a giant ass red flag.
Hmm.
Absolute no.
Yeah.
0 out of 10.
Yeah. And some people joke, like my parents will sometimes do it, like, "Oh, your
But
boyfriend." But like, there's never been a
tone,
history
the
of,
intention is
yeah, like it's
loving.
an actual joke. But Ryan is
Yeah.
doing, he is fishing.
Yeah, it's, like, demeaning in a way. He's almost intimidating her, like, "Tell me about your boyfriend."
It's
Yeah,
suffocating.
yucky.
When he was complimenting her, and he's like, "I like it. I like it blonde. You didn't even go red blonde, just blonde." I'm like, "Red blonde." Anyway, so
Asking her about toner and
I was like, "What did you do some research? Like, you have too much time on your hands, sir. Like, what were you doing when she was gone? Researching?" Like,
yeah, researching blondes.
I think he was trying to figure out how long she was there. Maybe he's like, "Oh, did they add toner? How long does toner take?" She should only be there about, because dyeing your hair does take a long time. So he
That
might have
is
been like,
true. She
"She
said
meets
she
up
was
with
there for,
Ken."
like, 5 hours. She did say that.
It
Yeah,
takes sometimes like especially when you're going from real dark. Like my hair is real dark. When I go lighter, I know she had highlights before, but like when you go that light, it took me about
right.
4 hours or so.
Yeah, and again, another red flag because he probably was questioning the time, and so she had to walk in and explain why her hair took so it's just all that stuff, nobody should have to deal with that in a relationship. That's just not the way that it works.
If he wasn't doing none of this, and when he was first told about Ken, let it go. I mean, I understand that you're gonna have these feelings. I'll let you process your feelings. Maybe we'll set up some therapy appointments, maybe some couples counseling, whatever. And you'll be on our way. And then he never really mentions it unless she wants to talk about it again. I
Mm,
think that would have worked out a lot more in his favor. They might even still be together today. Just because Ken got brought up, she didn't start really missing him until her husband started self imploding. And it's like, why do I want to put up with this? Like,
he really did, yeah.
I wouldn't put up with that either. I think he just started self imploding, honestly. He said before the show came out, we were going to see what happened. And I understand there's a lot of editing probably in the mix of this as well, but it also doesn't seem like whatever's happening on camera is helpful either, because this girl is checking out and very much checked out.
We probably could go to the conversation with Christy. She woke Ryan up even. At first I thought it was in the middle of the night, but now it looks like Ryan's been sick during this episode, so I think he's just been in the bedroom for a while, which I thought it was very convenient that he was sick when Christy came over. She told Christy at a lunch that she woke Ryan up and said that she missed Ken. He pretty much told her, "You have to get over that because you're married." And I think that that's valid. Gypsy pretty much told him, "You're gonna have to accept that right now I have 2 men in my heart," which I also think is valid. If you're in the open, transparent communication line of marriage, I guess that's the most open and transparent you could be.
I don't think any of this Ken stuff should have been a surprise to Ryan. She was talking to him before she got married in prison. Seems like they had an open line of communication talking about Ken, then Ken coming in and out before she ever got out of prison. This isn't news. He knew
Yeah,
this was a threat. He knew that this was a possibility. He married her anyways. I think that he did the wrong thing by marrying her like that. I think he also knew she could have been rebounding or whatever. It just wasn't a good time to marry somebody. He could have waited till after she was out of prison, and this way they knew that it was going to work for sure.
mhm,
Because you idolize a lot of things when you're stuck long distance or
yeah,
behind bars or whatever. You start idolizing things. You start thinking things are going to be a certain way, and then a lot of times they're not that way. Then now you're stuck.
right. Well, and Gypsy said that she called Ken 2 weeks before her wedding to Ryan and
And so did
said,
Ken.
"If you don't want me to get married, tell me now." And he just said, "I want you to do what makes you happy." But I think if you have to call another person, especially a person that you've had a relationship with, 2 weeks before your wedding and say, "I will stop all of this if you want me to," then you probably just shouldn't get married in the fucking first place.
Yeah, because you're always gonna think about this person anyways.
That's your sign. You don't need that person to say yes or no. The fact that you called that person and asked that question, that's your sign.
Yep. Oh, 100%. 100% agree with that. I think that she knew then, but she just didn't want to admit it. She already made plans with Ryan. Ryan's probably also, it's probably a hard thing when you're stuck between two people. You want to make people happy and you think this is what's going to make you happy. This man's not giving me the commitment. I don't like that Ken was saying stuff like, oh, I wasn't seeing somebody else. Wasn't he seeing somebody else?
Gypsy said that he was seeing somebody else.
How'd she know that unless he told her that or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he was probably seeing somebody else at one point. This man says when he gets on this interview thing, well, I've got to think back to 7 years. I'm like, well, then why are you here now? 7 years? You've had 7 years to lock this down and let her find herself and come back. 7 years is a long time.
I think he's had to kind of remember because it doesn't sound like the way he's presenting now or even had the frame of mind. Oh, you need to make your own choices and grow and be free. It sounds like he just broke up with her. It really does. And then now 7 years later, he's decided, well, I was really just doing this because that's what my friends were telling me to do. And it sounds like you just broke up with her, man. Now you want it back.
I don't know. Just this is a mess. This is a whole mess. So speaking of a mess, we go to Gypsy at her parents' house and she's trying to eat dinner. I think she's waiting for dinner to get done. She makes a quick call to Ryan, talk about the day. She said she caught some kind of crab or something, whatever. She was excited about that. He wanted to FaceTime her, and Rod or whatever said that dinner was just about to be ready. So I can understand why Gypsy did not want to FaceTime him real quick. And I don't really like to FaceTime that much.
You just don't need to always FaceTime people. I know this with you. Miss Ann never likes to FaceTime.
Not usually.
I have to have
forehead.
I have to have like news or something really important to show her. And even then she'll be like, you can FaceTime me.
Well, because I like to set my phone down sometimes and do stuff. I don't really want to be like this, but she was about to eat. She didn't tell him that, hey, I can't FaceTime right now. I'll FaceTime you later because I'm about to eat right now. She did tell him she would do that later. She said, I'll FaceTime you later. She said, oh, is there someone there you don't want me to see? I don't care if it was one of Ryan's stupid jokes or not, but she is just instantly rolling her eyes like,
yeah. And that's, I mean, it's just a quick phone call, like checking in. Hey, how you doing? Okay, I'm going to go eat dinner. Goodbye. And it's like, you won't even accept that. It's, everything is about, I need more of your time and space and attention. I need to look at you. Why can't I look at you?
I need to make sure Christy didn't invite Ken over.
Crazy. And why do you need to make sure if Ken's going to come over, if Christy's going to, all that is going to happen. As Ken said, things will unfold as they should, and they have. I don't think there's anything Ryan could have truly done for that to not happen.
Probably not. It's definitely not at this point because Ryan's already dug himself such a huge hole with all these weird comments. I think he's being so overbearing and he doesn't know when to take a few steps back and just let the girl be and live because she's going to be making these choices. Back a couple months ago, she didn't care if she got pregnant by you or not, and now she's pregnant by Kent.
And it's just tough because Ryan's not really letting her get the experiences that she needs to get. Even just in the short weekend at her dad's, she went crawfishing or crab fishing. She drove a boat with him. She learned how to play guitar with him.
Ride a bike.
She rode a bike. It's just things that your family does when you are around your family. And this is what they've been waiting to do. They want to prepare her to be a person, not just to be Ryan's wife. I think she needs to have this time with her family. And the fact that he's just being so sour all the time, it's very much a turn off.
It sounds like she's just stuck in the house too. Can't drive or anything, so it sounds like she's stuck in the house all day, either cleaning or watching TV. And guess what? That ain't much of a step better than what her mom was letting her do.
She might as well be chained to something. It's the same thing. I remember his first day of work when he went back. He was walking out the door and he's like, "You're not going anywhere, right?" So it sounds like he doesn't even want her going anywhere. If she wanted to, it would be a whole conversation about, well, how long is it going to take and who you meeting and blah, blah, blah. Just like her hair was. And she had to explain why it was 5 hours. Like that is, it is getting to emotional, controlling, coercive types of behaviors. And it's not okay.
Yep.
People should be able to move freely about their life. It's just insane.
Especially when they haven't been able to for so long. And even if you just take the fact that she was in prison for 10 years and you take away whatever her childhood was, you were in prison for 10 years, you're not going to want to come out and then just keep being controlled like that. You gotta go visit your PO and everything. You don't want to commit more crimes, but you also want to be able to maybe go to the grocery store if you feel like it without calling your husband first and making sure it's okay. Or maybe walk up the street. Or I don't know. I know Gypsy can't drive at this point, but she should get an Uber somewhere, maybe go have lunch. Just get out of the house.
Yeah.
It don't mean she's meeting up with Ken. I just think he's so focused on Ken and the possibility of Ken. I'm sure he's going through her phone at this point. I don't know, but it's imploding and it's imploding fast. They showed that teaser for the next episode, and oof, it's going to be an interesting episode. If it's not all saved for the end.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we did kind of get this like side storyline for a minute for medical procedures, and
Mhm.
we sort of touched on what they were. There's not a lot to really go over, but I do want to say, because I was wondering, watching her go through all of this stuff, especially when the little AI thing corrected her nose and she could see it. Mia was asking her about like doing surgeries and how it feels to do surgeries again, and she was like, "Well, this is my choice, and this is something I can do." And I thought that that made a lot of sense, and probably could be healing for her. I wonder if Gypsy's gonna start getting addicted to these types of like plastic surgery, like enhancements, because she did lose so much in
Mhm.
surgery before, and it seems like she really is just hitting the ground running. Nose job, fixing her teeth, changing her hair. I can imagine after this baby, the next thing is gonna be sponsored BBL. And then what? Where do you stop after that? I'm a little worried she might start to be one of those enhancement addicts,
Yeah.
even just like aesthetics, right? Like she's gonna, she's gonna get some Botox soon. People are gonna fill her all up for free. I think there's a risk for that.
Some of that's not so bad in her 30s and stuff,
Right.
getting a little bit of Botox or whatever. That's not like the worst thing she could be doing. But yeah, you don't really want her to go overboard. At
Yeah.
least we know she's got at least till January where she can't really do much of nothing.
There'd be a good break for her so that maybe she doesn't. But I just feel like I know several surgeons are gonna offer her some kind of mommy makeover baloney after this baby comes out.
The preview for the next episode looks really spicy. There's this text exchange between Ryan and Gypsy, and like you said, I'm not sure if it's some kind of
No context sort of situation.
I'm not gonna lie, even if you are talking in that way, why would you bring up my dad and me spending time with my dad?
It's
I
so
would just
real.
be
It's
like,
just
"I
so
miss you. I can't wait to see you, and so I can love up on you," or whatever. I wouldn't be like, "I don't give a F about you spending time with your dad." Because even if you are talking in that sense, like, I'd kill my mood real quick, especially when you haven't seen your dad in 10 years.
to say I don't give an F about, I mean, really anything that your partner's doing. It's not nice. So I don't care what kind of tone. I agree. It was really a strange message. And it looks like she ends up actually showing it to her dad and talking about maybe starting to realize in real time that she's in a codependent relationship. It looks like Gypsy's going to pack up. I'm sure that's going to be the very end of the episode, the very
Right.
last 30 seconds.
Looks like they're doing it quick, like, they're doing it while he's at work. She's crying, holding this dog. People gave her a lot of crap about leaving her dog, but it's still a very difficult thing, and who knows what kind of fight Ryan might have put up with it. I don't know. It seems like they argued about this dog because there was a whole thing on social media about it. I don't know if she could take the dog where she was going, if they already have animals. I don't know.
She probably could have took that dog with her, and it makes me really sad that she just left it there, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
Maybe at the time, Gypsy's really not that responsible right now. She'd make a lot of rash decisions, and maybe she felt like it'd be more stable for it to just stay at Ryan's. He goes to his work and comes home. It is a long day to be away from your dog, 8 hours a day and stuff, but
Yeah,
especially
maybe
when
she's
that
hoping that they
puppy.
can share the dog too. Maybe she wanted to wait and let the dog stay there until she figured it out.
Maybe she left the dog too as like a condolence thing. I know I'm leaving you, but maybe here's this thing you can lean on. I don't want you to feel completely abandoned, if we both
Here's
leave.
this dog that I demanded care for it.
I'm not saying it's good,
That's
Just saying.
funny. It's possible. I mean, Jip Jip, she's full of surprises.
Oh, yeah. Let me leave you with a reminder. If that text is true, which I actually kind of assume that is, because if there is some weird content, why would you give your phone to your dad? You could just easily scroll up and be like,
Well, I was wondering maybe they were facing that video call he wanted so bad, and then they got off the phone, and then maybe he's the bear in the big.
yeah, still not the right thing to say. I was like,
No.
he said what?
I was shook. I was sitting there trying to make sense of it. How in the world would somebody think that it's okay to say it? Because though I want to love on my wife part, I was trying to just think about that part. But no, it's not okay to ever be like, F your time with your anybody. There's 100 other ways to say I want you. Just say
Mhm.
that.
I'm sure that might have been what he framed it to be. I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like we're gonna eventually hear from Ryan if he ain't in trouble or something right now over this Gypsy news. He's probably gonna have to go live about this text. Next is gonna be her visiting with Ken.
You
Because we know it
do.
happens quick. It moves on real quick. She's already pregnant, 11 weeks pregnant right now. So
True.
I don't think it's gonna be in the next episode. I think it's the one after. Especially if she moved back home. You know, Ken is single.
And single.
And now Gypsy's single. In her mind.
Gypsy's single.
You know, Christy called Ken when Gypsy became single. Gypsy's single. Maybe it was Christy that had to tell Ryan, Gypsy's pregnant. Because we said in our Gypsy pregnancy video.
Go check out our Gypsy pregnancy video about it.
Christy said, you don't break up with people's exes, so that means she better be friends with Ryan. She better be having her conference calls with Ryan. She don't break up with nobody's exes.
So true.
So can't wait to see those.
I know they're gonna maybe exchange some photos back and forth too.
Yeah, we hope to get some photos from Ryan. The prison wedding and pics, so she can just look on the floor and be reminiscing. She can be like, Ryan's been, sniffing around.
Ryan's single.
Oh my gosh, this could all flip back right over.
It could just come full circle.
I don't think it will because Ryan dug himself such a big hole. But
yeah, we don't need Ryan to come back. That was a good move. Regardless of how it played out, there's definitely things that could have went better with that. Ryan's not her guy.
No, I'm kind of glad she didn't get pregnant first before she found out with him, at least, God,
could you imagine? The control he has right now, the way he would have been with her being pregnant, I think it would have been actually not just border.
It's weird. I don't know. He's just really, really insecure.
I feel badly for him, but I also don't think the way he's acting in this relationship is
healthy. But yeah, we'll catch you on the next one, Chick Chat. We gotta save something for next week. And if Ryan comes out with some type of explanation on anything, whether it be the pregnancy or the text or anything, we'll make a video about it. All right, well, we'll catch you next time, Chick Chat.
Bye-bye.